Horns down, Sooner football fans. You got Terry and Rob here. Horns down, Rob.
Horns down, Terry.
How's it going? Are you still pumped and excited and ready to beat the hell out of Texas?
I'm getting there. I won some tickets to ride the train down, but I had to turn those back in because I just don't know what time I'm going to be off or if I'm going to be off because that train leaves on Friday. But I'm pretty sure now I'm going to be able to. I think if we can swing it, you and I are going to run down to Bevo Bash, aren't we?
I think so. I think that's the plan. But
I mean, it's a long way to drive for a free hamburger, but
hey, free food's free food.
Free Bevo burger, should I say?
But yeah. So those of you who don't know, Rob said he won tickets. He won train tickets, right?
Yeah, just the train ticket, not the game ticket.
To ride the Amtrak Bevo train,
which I've never done, and I really want to do that.
I do too.
I should have just took the, and just turn around and came right back.
You could have told them, I want to leave on Friday, come back Friday night.
About an hour into that trip, I might have been like, oh, boy, what have I done?
But that would be cool. But I've always wanted to do a train trip across the country.
Train trip across the country.
Just get on a train.
I don't know, man.
And ride the train.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Well,
I mean, they got sleeping quarters and everything, so.
Where are you going to go, though, if you're like, man, this ain't for me?
Well, you stop and get off.
Oh, okay.
They stop every, like 10 miles, so that's the.
Oh, really?
Well, they stop a lot. I mean, like.
Well, no wonder it takes you forever to get anywhere.
The Heartland Flyer, it stops in, goes from Oklahoma City, stops in Norman, Purcell, Pauls Valley, Ardmore. It stops, I think, like 10 times before it gets to Dallas.
Grief.
So,
well, that would be no fun at all.
By the time you get somewhere, it's time to stop. So
I don't know. I guess if new and interesting people were getting on at every stop. It might be pretty cool. But.
So let's talk, Rob. I've been thinking today. Let's talk about the problems with the offense and the defense.
What problems?
What problems? Exactly. We're 5-0, right?
So problems.
How can we have problems? Well, there's been discussions, as there always is, and always has been, and probably rightfully so. Well, not probably, rightfully so. Of our defensive woes.
What woe?
Our woes in the past.
Okay.
Now, this year, you and I have been close to drinking the Kool-Aid. We kind of put the Kool-Aid up.
No, I drank it.
You drank it?
I drank it. I'm pretty sure I said we were going to beat Iowa State 38-3.
Yeah.
And, obviously they put up quite a bit more.
No, but they still did what you and I have talked about all along. They held them below 28 points.
Yeah.
And we've had several Twitter discussions today about the defense. People started talking about the defense and defensive woes and issues. They're the same as they've always been. The defense isn't hasn't improved any, and so on and so forth.
I disagree.
The fire Mike Stoops talk. It's time for him to go.
Do you really feel like they're not any better? I mean, I know that right now the ranking is not any better.
Well, that's one of the discussions that I was having on Twitter with folks was right now, just a couple of weeks ago, Alabama was the 53rd ranked defense.
Yeah.
They're moving up.
It's too early.
It's too early because, for one, we're too early in the season. You got to realize Oklahoma's first two games, especially their first one, their defense was out on the field 2 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
So wipe away that second half. That's not our defense. That's our learning curve. Pretty much the same with maybe a little bit longer with UCLA. So 3 quarters of this season, I would say you could wipe out.
Because you got to take the Army game out. That's not a realistic measure.
Right.
I don't think of a defense. I kind of feel like that they've turned a corner, and now is there a lot of room for growth and a lot of room to get better? I think so.
Right.
I hope so.
Right.
So if they do.
Here was the point I was making, okay? And I think some people misunderstood it, so I tried to clarify it, was this defense needs to get 5 stops a game and not allow over 28 points. If they do that, Oklahoma wins every game. I don't care who they're playing. Now, somebody brought up that Baylor scored 33, so it's like, well, okay, the 33rd point in the Baylor game, the game was out of, it was.
They should have been running the ball. They wouldn't have got close.
Yeah. And the game was done. There, so what? They scored 33 points.
Mm-hmm.
My point was through 3.5 quarters, they scored 26 points. I think it was 27 points, something like that. So, but everybody's wanting to hate on the defense that they're not improved. First off, Baylor is much improved from last year. Baylor came into the game last year 0-4 and almost beat us. This game was not ever even close.
Yeah, I agree.
Whatsoever.
Yeah.
But the thing that I was saying too is that part of the issue with the defense right now is the offense. The offense
scored so quick.
Right. Blinken was on the other night when we called. Well, were you here when we called? No. Okay. You weren't here the other night when we called, but we called Blinken for get his Texas takes.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma, and you can trust this stat because it's Blinken. Oklahoma this year on average is scoring every 9 plays.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's every 2 series it's taking them to score.
That's a good problem to have.
Right. Okay. So I added to that stat. People were like, that doesn't matter. And I'm like, yeah, it does because you're seeing more of our defense. Okay.
Yeah.
The defense is out there more often. Oklahoma.
There's more opportunities for failure.
Right.
And failure may be too big a word.
Right. You're just seeing it. If Oklahoma was having, instead of 9, averaging 9 play drives, if they were averaging 10 and 12, running the clock a little bit more, you wouldn't see the defense as much. Okay. But here's the stat that I found that just blew me away. Okay. So, and I had to do some research on this. Looked it up. Oklahoma's offense has played 295 plays this year. Okay. That is 41 more than Alabama has, or less, 41 less than Alabama has, 97 less than Ohio State, 59 less than Clemson, 29 less than Georgia, 53 less than LSU, and 84 less than Notre Dame. Okay.
Man.
On average, Oklahoma's defense on the top 6 teams,
mm-hmm.
Oklahoma's defense has been on the field 63 more plays on average than all those teams.
Well, there you go.
Now, people tried to construe it as it's because they don't get off on third down. No, it's not. It's because our offense gets the ball and scores.
Well, there has been some of that third down business, but
well, yeah, there has been.
But if you look at those plays, our secondary was in coverage. The people were playing. Yeah, people have had some success against us, but I think the better we get, the more third down shutdowns we're going to get.
Right. And there was plenty of third down shutdowns against Baylor. There was plenty against Iowa State. The only team the third down shutdowns haven't come on is basically Army.
Well, actually, they went for it a bunch of times on fourth, didn't they?
Right.
So really, we did get a third down shutdown.
Right.
They just went for it.
Yeah. and but then when they needed to get the shutdown, when push come to shove at the end, they got it. My point is that a lot right now, the defensive stats aren't catching up because the defense is out there more plays, not because they can't get off the field on third down. It's because they're playing, 5, 6, 7 more series
mm-hmm.
than anybody else is out there.
Absolutely. If at the end of the game the defense is the one that's not gassed, then that would be a total shift.
Right.
At the end of the game, our defense wore smooth out. And the offense is like, hey, we just barely been on the field.
Right.
So.
We you and I and Caleb were talking about it Sunday was we've got a lot of pass plays that are designed, they're running plays. They're short yardage. They want, they're designed to get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards.
It's a quick, high completion, high percentage
right.
play.
It's under the coverage. They're expecting to get tackled. Get tackled
Right.
on 5 or 6 yards, dink and dunk type plays. Oklahoma against Baylor scored on like 4 of those plays. CeeDee Lamb did. Sermon did. Marquise Brown.
One across to Brown. Yeah.
Marquise Brown did on 2.
Which is still, I think, the most fascinating play that we've ran all year because he just, man, when he turned them Jets on, he was impressive.
Right.
Of course, that's the kind of speed we've been talking about all year.
Right.
We've been talking about it. So,
and how do we slow our own offense down? And it's about the only thing you can do is tell them, okay, when you get 15 yards, take a knee. Well, we're not going to do that.
We're not doing that.
Yeah. You can't tell.
Like when P. Ryan took a knee at the goal line.
Right.
Listen, that ate on my heart. Like
it still does.
Like you can't imagine.
But, the thing is that we're 5-0. The defense, the Army game, you can say they look bad, but they never gave up big plays. Our red zone defense is terrible. It's 100%. When they get in the red zone, they score. Mm-hmm. But on the other end of it, our offense, too, is ranked 112th in time of possession. 112th in time of possession. That's not because the defense can't get off the field. We're scoring. We scored 66 points for crying out loud against Baylor. Mm-hmm. And so my point is we're still in the middle of this. If Oklahoma gets 5 stops per game, whether it's 2 in the first, 3 in the second half, vice versa, they get that and they hold teams below 28 points. They're a top 25 defense.
Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean the object is to score more than the opponent. So I think our offense is going to score.
Right.
I mean, it's going to score. I felt like against Baylor, we weren't going to have some of the success that we had, and I don't know if you remembered or not, but I picked Baylor to beat us.
Yeah,
which I've never done that typically, but.
Well, now you have to do it every game. So,
yeah, using yours and Caleb's logic, I gotta pick. And honestly, going into this Texas game, I feel like it's going to be close because all the factors about this game, and I felt the score was going to be somewhere like 27-24, or 24-27, because OU always comes first.
Yeah.
So I've kind of been going back and forth, but based on everything I heard today, I mean, everybody, which worries me, everybody thinks we're going to kill them.
Right. Well, I mean, I think with this game, every year you throw out records, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're right. I think it's going to be a close game, too. Last year was a close game. Year before last was a close game. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma, the last 2 years, has been light years ahead of Texas. But this game just brings out the best in both teams. Rarely is it a big blowout.
Well, and even though USC sucks, beating them still puts a feather in your cap.
Oh, yeah. It's USC, and that's what they'll always go back to.
Sure. So they're gaining momentum and confidence, over the season, even though they lost to Maryland, who lost to Old Dominion or whatever. I mean, it don't get much worse than that unless you get beat by, I don't know, who beat OSU a couple years ago? The Chippewas?
Yeah, Chippewas, Central Michigan.
Unless you get beat by Appalachian State or the Chippewas.
Yeah.
It don't get, or Kansas.
Right.
It don't get much worse than that, right. I think. But
again, right now, I just think it's too much. People are putting too much emphasis on we're the 90th ranked defense in the country, because there's some big teams that are up there too. Up there high. Not Notre Dame. Alabama right now is 23rd ranked defense. A couple of weeks ago, they were 50th. By the end of the year, they're going to be number 1. Everybody knows that. Yeah. They around there. Oklahoma right now is ranked 12th in offense. By the end of the year, they're probably going to be back up there at number 1. And I think it's because the playing field levels out. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The first team defenses are out there all the time against the first team offenses. There's not as many points scored. All that stuff starts leveling out because the competition starts leveling out. These first 4 games, you really can't judge much of anything, with the exception, I think, of OU's defense, who going into this week last year had 1 loss at home.
Yeah.
You know?
And I see what everybody's saying, but how cool would it be if we had the 22nd ranked defense right now?
Well, but I mean, how would that happen? You know, I mean, what if our offense is scoring, you know, every 9 plays, they're going out, they're basically getting almost 10 yards a play. Boom, boom,
more
boom.
Than that, isn't it? 16, I think.
So I mean, just boom, boom, boom down the field. You turn around. Okay, are you expecting your defense to go 3 and out every time? You know, if that,
I think that's the expectation.
Yeah, that's not that's my point. That's not realistic.
Not realistic.
That's why I'm saying you stop them 3 times, give them a touchdown. Give them, you know, any team, you give them a touchdown in each quarter, 1, 2, and 3, and shut them out in the 4th. That's 21 points. Even if they score a touchdown in the 4th, that's 28. With this offense, you should be scoring 2 and 3 times a quarter.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean,
yeah.
You know, it's like people want the defense to go 1 and out every time.
Exactly, and that's not going to happen.
1 and out, all right.
And people were, and again, I'm not trying to convince anybody of my theories are right, and that's why I do like about my, you know, when I talk for us, you know, on Twitter, is I'm not trying to convince anybody that we're right, I'm right, or anything else. It's a discussion, you know. I'm not trying to change their mind.
It's always that.
Yeah, you know, and don't try to change mine. I understand your point. I understand your complaints. They're valid points and valid complaints. But what I'm saying is, let's not get too overly complicated. We're not building the atomic bomb. Okay.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're talking about a defense, and you know, people are schemes. He can't teach people to tackle this and this and this. Where has he had guys out of position? Where has there not been a contested play this year? Can you point out any of that this year?
Probably not, but here's something they can see. They can see that the defense, even if not statistically, visually, you can see the defense is better. At least I feel like it is.
You can see. Our front 6, front 7, it's really a front 6, but the front 6 is attacking. Okay.
Yeah.
And part of the discussion was RJ was in on it, you know, and you know, it really wasn't disagreeing. We just had difference of opinion on how to become a top 25 defense.
Sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But he brought up the point, you know, the linebackers should be being talked about as All-Americans. Those guys are playing out of their mind right now.
Right.
We have maybe the best 2 linebacker tandems.
Maybe the best 3. Because I'm going to tell you what, that quarter that Caleb Kelly got to play, everybody was like, dang, and he's on the bench.
Yeah.
Come on. But we need to run a 4-3.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But, you know, that front 7 is playing better than they have. You look at, you know, even Iowa State. You know, people are like, you know, well, we didn't get to him enough, but we were the effort was there. Okay,
it wasn't non-existent like it was the year before.
Right, we're not rushing 3. Okay, he's blitzing. They were getting there right after, but guess what? The next week, you know, here we are at Baylor. What, they have 6 sacks last week?
Yeah,
they're getting there.
And they were all over him too, though.
Right.
I mean, there were several rushes and knockdowns and.
Right.
You know, not Dexter Manley. What's his name? Something Man.
Yeah, I can't. You just if you wouldn't have said Dexter Manley, I started thinking of all the Dexter Manley jokes.
That's a kid that graduated from OSU that couldn't read, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. Wait, you have a college degree and you cannot read, and you graduated from OSU. Okay, that makes sense. But him and Gallimore, I mean, they manhandled their tackles and they were getting double teams, and that's why those linebackers were having such big days, because you have got to double team Gallimore. Right. I mean, you got to, or he's going to be beating you up all day.
And one guy brought up a great point was if we had 2 more tackles that could rotate in and keep, you know, and I was like, exactly. And we have those 2. They're just hurt.
Right.
Those 2 guys, Thompson and
Redmond,
Redmond, were going to play this year.
Yeah, they were.
They weren't. They made it. They were going to be in that rotation of rest.
When you don't have any depth, and I'm not saying we don't have any depth. I'm just saying when your depth is a little light,
your depth isn't as talented.
Right.
Is the deal.
Absolutely.
But I mean, right now, this defense has done what I have said, or that I have thought they needed to do. Okay, hold the opponents under 28 points. Get some stops. The main thing is just keep them under 28, because with this offense, and then people are like, well, can they do that with Bama and Clemson? I'm like, I don't know. We won't know that until, the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think there's a good possibility that our offense will hiccup along the way somewhere. We just won't click, and, that we'll be well schemed against or whatever, that we're going to need that defense to step up.
Right.
So hopefully it's not this week.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, I really do. I mean, well, they did need them to step up in Army.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we gave them the ball with, 10 minutes, 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter on that 4th and 1. I turned to the folks sitting next to me and went, we're going to lose this game because they're going to drive it the length of the field.
And they were.
Yeah. until we got them in, made them get into a passing situation. When that happened, Army fell out of their game plan. We get an interception.
Right.
So same thing happened in overtime. They got them out of their game plan. They couldn't. They for whatever reason they didn't do it the whole game. But when they had to, they got them out of that game plan. And boom. But even Lincoln Riley took blame for that. He was like, our offense didn't score 4 times against Army.
Right.
We go up 14 points. He said it, not just me. He said it. We go up 14 points. Army's game plan is completely different. Completely different.
Yeah, maybe that was the hiccup that I was, worried about, happening. And
so, but the bottom line is, and I agree with everybody out there on Twitter, you've got your own deals. If you want to say fire Mike Stoops and so on and so forth, that's your opinion, and that's great. But we all want the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We all want the Sooners to win. We all want the Sooners to go undefeated and win a national title. If Oklahoma goes undefeated and wins a national title, guess what, folks? Mike Stoops ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I'd say there's a better than average possibility he's not anyway.
Right. But
it would take a major fall from this team for Mike to
resign or whatever.
Repercussions on.
Right. Yeah. But even if Oklahoma goes undefeated and loses in the national championship or in the playoffs, he's not going anywhere.
No.
The team got there. Are we good enough? Is this defense good enough to win a national championship? I don't know. I mean, what do we have it to compare to? Every time people go, we'll have to play Bama to win it. Well, my point is every time Mike Stoops has played Alabama, he's beat them.
He's had a pretty good record against them.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I think Alabama's probably a more complete team.
Oh, yeah.
Than any team I've maybe ever seen.
Remember, their punter and kicker aren't quite up to key.
Stupid. So, here's the thing. It's going to come down to 2 people for the Heisman. Tua Tagovailoa, Tua Tagovailoa, whatever.
Tugboatomania.
And Kyler. It's going to come down to those 2. There's no other people in the race right now. And you know what? I don't.
Well, and here's another thing. I don't know if you saw. We got into that talk too a little bit with Blinken. I don't know if you saw Blinken's post. He was tongue in cheek. He threw out the Kyler stats, which, by the way, everybody, are better than Baker's at this point in time.
Right. And I think he's got a few less yards or something, but
a few less passing yards, but
everything else is.
He's got better. Like 300 more rushing yards.
Yeah.
So his numbers end up being better because at this time I think Baker was negative rushing. Okay. Now he put the hashtag Baker Who.
Oh,
holy cow! It was hilarious because he even put out a text. A tweet a little bit later. It was like, you guys are taking this tweet way too serious. It was kind of a tongue in cheek, kind of Baker Who. But it's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. People go, well, Kyler hadn't played Ohio State. Okay. His numbers are still better, so now you want to compare, you want to say that it's like flipped, but if Kyler stays on track like he is right now, he's going to destroy every single one of Baker's records.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Baker's going to go down as the best quarterback of all time at the University of Oklahoma.
Right.
So what is that going to say about Kyler if he destroys every record he's got?
And he played here 4 years.
Well,
3. He was here 4. He had to sit out the 1 and got the extra year.
Right.
So he played 3. Kyler is coming in and outdoing his best season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kyler's efficiency rating last week was like 330 something.
So the question is can he maintain it?
Why can't he?
I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying that's what everybody's watching now.
Right.
Can he maintain? Because now we're getting into some teams which, they dog the Big 12 until we, get into it, and then they say, well, they're getting into the Big 12 schedule now. They're gonna,
now it's going to get tougher on them.
It's going to get tougher, whatever.
Right.
So, and it may, because West Virginia is no joke.
Yeah, West Virginia so far has been living up to their hype.
I don't think TCU is any joke. I think that's some unfortunate things happen at Ohio State. But
here's another thing. People want to harp on our defense. TCU is like the 11th ranked defense in the country right now, and they got 2 losses. So that's my point: is defensive rankings right now don't matter.
Right now, they don't.
When you start getting into the and after the season, you sit back and look and go, people are right. There, not very many teams with a defensive ranking under 25 have won a national title.
Right.
Defense does win championships.
So if we make it to the playoffs again this year, and we're looking at the number 67 ranked defense, do you have any? Do you think we're gonna?
I don't think we'll be 67th ranked defense if we run the table and get into because that's what I think that's what Oklahoma's have to do. We're going to have to win out to get into the playoffs.
So you think there's going to be more than 4 undefeated teams?
I think I think a undefeated Notre Dame
gets in before Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I would agree.
And for especially this year because Notre Dame's never been there. Oklahoma's been there twice.
Well, and they've to this point have played a tougher schedule.
Right. But an undefeated Notre Dame will get in before Oklahoma. A 1-loss Georgia
gets in before a 1-loss Oklahoma, or an undefeated Oklahoma.
I think even maybe not an undefeated Oklahoma. If Clemson, Alabama, and Notre Dame go undefeated, and Ohio State goes undefeated,
there's your 4.
There's your 4. Oklahoma undefeated is the one sitting out.
You're probably right.
So
you're probably right.
Because they're going to, unless there's much improvement. But the other thing is this has been the turning point the last 2 years for Oklahoma's team. 4th and 5th game, they find another gear.
Yeah.
And I think it's true this year. I think the defense is going to look better. I think the offense is going to look better. It's just we all want the same thing, folks. we all want the best defense out on the field, and whether Mike Stoops puts it out there or not, if you're sitting here going fire Mike Stoops right now, the season ain't even over yet. Then why are you even paying attention to games? Because you don't believe in what's going on.
Yeah.
Well,
just think about that scenario you were just talking about. If there's 5 undefeated teams at the end of the year, somebody's getting left out, and when that team wins their bowl game and they stay undefeated,
oh yeah,
that's going to be a mess.
Yeah, and it could very easily be Oklahoma left out. I mean, if there's 5.
And if it comes down to those 4, you're right. Oklahoma gets left out.
Oklahoma gets left out, and then which I not that I want Oklahoma left out. I want that to happen. I want 5 undefeated teams. From you'd have to have Notre Dame in the mix or something like that. But there could be very easily be 6 undefeated teams with UCF. And
yeah. I'm sorry, UCF does not get in.
Yeah, but my point being is, and everybody keeps going, well, it's highly doubtful that they can do that to Alabama or Clemson. I don't know. You don't know.
You really don't, because obviously Boise State did that to us. But here's the thing: a one-loss Power 5 team gets in before an undefeated UCF.
Oh yeah,
Plain and simple. There would have to be a whole lot of people losing for UCF to get in.
Right. But anyway, that being said, Texas. What did you think about the rap music video that's not very good that they put out? Did you ever get to watch all of it?
I didn't get to see it. It looked stupid, so I just bypassed it.
Yeah, somebody sent it to us on Twitter through direct messaging, and I clicked on it, and I was like, I don't even know what to say. It's like, I'm not a rap fan, but, I can listen to a little bit of rap music, not much. This is just terrible. I mean, you couldn't understand. You couldn't understand the guy. They had captions underneath it, so you could understand it. So, I don't know.
I'm probably out on that deal, but I did read somebody said this just got them beat by 40. So must have been pretty derogatory against Oklahoma.
Yeah, it was. And then, did you read the story about Mike Leach in 1999 in Texas?
Nope.
This is hilarious because I guess it just came out, and he put it in his book and everything. Mike Leach and Kel Gundy dropped a dummy play script on the field in 1999, and Texas picked it up.
Really?
And Oklahoma went up 17-0 in that game, and that's when Texas threw it away. And and the Texas coaches that were there said, they didn't know whether to believe it or not, but they just couldn't. It looked real, and Leach and Gundy said the same. Leach planned it. He drew up fake plays, used terminology to where it would look real. They couldn't question the fact. And Oklahoma went up 17-0, and that's when Texas went, okay, yeah, this isn't real. Okay, I mean, it was laminated. They had a coach drop it, or actually, I think it was a player dropped it. That Leach handed it to him, and he put it in his belt, and he was running, and it dropped. And Leach stood way over his side, watching out of his peripheral vision to see if they picked it up, and they did, and they got right off the field with it. But Oklahoma ended up losing the game. But I think Oklahoma scored on its second play. And because their scripted second play was supposed to be a screen, and Texas blitzed, basically a screen blitz to blow up that play, which left the receiver over the middle just wide open. But he put a fake script out on the field.
Funny. That is a Leach thing to do.
Yeah.
He's a pirate.
Yeah, so I thought that was one of the other big Texas Oklahoma stories that you hear
said
about.
Texas Oklahoma.
Oklahoma Texas.
Sure
Sorry,
Oklahoma Texas.
I forgot my alphabets.
Okay,
but I know we'll talk about probably more. But what do you think happens this weekend? You already said you think it's going to be close, 27-24, 27-21.
I hope it's not. I hope it's 66-33. But it's just they're going to throw out all the stops. It's going to be a tough game. They're going to be really fighting. Everybody's fighting for bragging rights, basically, and I just think it's going to be close. And a lot of people are saying blowout. Oklahoma's going to blow them out. Well, on paper, you know what? Most of the time, it looks like we're going to blow them out.
It is a potential blowout. I'll say that. But because of the history of this game, the blowouts very rarely happen.
Yeah.
I'm
not opposed to an occasional 63-14.
Right.
I really enjoy
Nothing
those.
wrong with that.
I really enjoy them. And I watch every play, even the very last one.
Yeah.
And just like it's the first one.
I'm also not opposed to the 28-24 games. I mean, it gives me a heart attack, but they're fun. I mean, as long as we come out on top,
Yeah.
I mean, where it's, a fist fight for 4 quarters. But I don't know. I mean, my fandism and my love of the Sooners says they can't stop us. There's no way they can stop us. We're going to score 40-plus points. And
they're just not – I don't think their offense can score 40 points if there wasn't any defense out there. So.
I don't think they can keep up, with our defense.
I really do.
I don't think they can. But the reasonable side of me says, we were 0-4 one year going into it in the 90s and walked out with an overtime, victory.
Mm-hmm.
So the realistic side of me thinks it's more going to be like a 28-21, 35-24 or something like that type of game, which is fine with me as long as we're on the top side of that.
As long as it's a W.
Yeah. And, it's a ranked team. Maybe people can shut up then and say, well, Oklahoma hasn't been a ranked team. But then what will happen? Well, it was Texas, and obviously Texas isn't as good as we thought.
Then they'll start saying, Texas lost to Maryland, who lost to Old Dominion.
Yeah. Which
that's the way to go. We know it.
Yeah. The same way, upset alert against FAU, and we use them as a rag mop, and they go, oh, well, obviously FAU is not as good as we thought.
Yeah. Well, we skull drug them, so.
Yeah. What's your argument? So, but anyway, I don't know, but it's gonna be a fun day. I mean, gonna get to watch the Sooners beat the hell out of Texas, and then watch the McGregor fight later on.
Yeah, that's a great atmosphere down there in Texas.
Yeah, that's going to require a nap at some point in the afternoon on my on my part. But
I think I've said this before here on the show, but I think my first – it wasn't my first game, but the one I remember most is, I used to not get tickets at all.
Yeah.
And, in fact, I went down there with my then wife and some friends, and they just wanted to walk around the fair. And I said, well, I'm, obviously going to go to the game. So, I get to go by myself. And I walk up to the girl. This is what I used to do every year.
Yeah.
Walk up to the girl at the ticket gate, and you have a 20 folded up in your hand, and you just hand it to her, and she just lets you go through.
Yeah.
Okay? They've since stopped doing that, by the way.
Yeah.
So I get in there, and I walk down to like the fourth row of the aluminum bleachers that were on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're gone now, but a lot of the people listening probably remember it. And it was really a step that I was sitting on, but it was aluminum, so it was wide. And, it was, just like a seat.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cedric Benson is walking. I could have flicked a
booger on him.
A booger on him. That's how close he was to me, and I was giving him the horns down business, And he just stopped, and he turned and looked at me, and I was like, excuse me, sir.
My bad.
Because he was a big old boy. I was just like, okay. Yeah, I'm going to stop all that trash talking. I didn't,
but for the moment you did.
Just for the moment, because, he could have easily hopped that fence.
Yeah, he turned around, and the horns down went back up, right?
Yeah, until he started walking again. Then I was getting to him even harder then. So, yeah, that was pretty fun, though.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's probably about time we get on to the Tailgate Like a Champion with our folks and talk about beer, food, and tailgate games. You ready to do that?
Absolutely.
All right, Sooner fans, it's time for Adrienne's Brew.
Yo, Adrienne.
Yo!
With our favorite witch, Adrienne, from somewhere down in the state that we're not mentioning this week. But we're always excited to hear her talk about beer. And so we've got Adrienne on, and it's horns down, Adrienne.
Horns down.
How are you?
I am good. How are you guys this week?
Oh, fantastic. I think.
It is state below a state week, which I happen to live in, so I'm literally in the middle of hell here.
So do you work with a lot of Tex-Ass fans?
No, I don't actually. I actually work with several Aggies.
Yeah, that's worse.
Yeah, it is worse. But I do encounter them as my customers, and I got to get the upcharge. As we call it at work, the asshole tax.
The asshole tax. All right.
Yeah.
So you have an interesting beer for us this week, we understand.
I do. I picked something that I thought was perfectly themed for my favorite Longhorns in UT. I picked a company called Brash Brewing, and they make a really wonderful IPA that I absolutely love, and it's called Pussy Wagon.
Say that again. Say that again for Rob.
It's called Pussy Wagon.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought to myself, the Sooners have a schooner, and if the Longhorns had their own wagon, what would it be? It would be a pussy wagon.
Oh boy.
And that's how I decided that was the Texas beer of choice.
and we're not talking about. I don't know if I should even go here. We're not talking about the good kind of pussy. We're talking about the wimpy.
No, not that.
I have a bad feeling.
We're talking about what you call your neighborhood childhood friends when they're being fragile.
Feel free to at Terry Long 5150 at Texas.
I mean, hey, you know, we
I
just
did
wanted
an informal Twitter poll asking if it was offensive to people to be called a pussy, and several people answered "don't be a pussy," and a few people said yes. And then, of course, I got my standard few people who always stick the "why are you like this" on my polls. I got to stop putting that on there. And so, anyway.
So, how many votes?
To talk about the beer itself.
How many votes did you get?
37 total. So
37.
Out of those 37, the small sample size, only 11% of people are offended.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they will be greatly offended after they listen to this podcast.
If not, just hang on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still time.
Yeah, there's still time. If we haven't offended you yet, it's very good.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time.
So,
so
tell us about Pussy Wagon.
I will. It is an IPA. It's a very bitter IPA with 115 of the international bitterness units. So it's real hoppy, strong citrus, strong hint of pine. It pours cloudy and amber. It's bitter. It's medium carbonated. It goes down, I think, pretty good if you like IPAs. I'm going to roll with you. Neither one of y'all really do after our last week adventure in beer.
Now, I like the IPA.
Okay, well, you would probably like this one. It is kind of a bitter IPA, but it finishes clean. So it has a citrus clean finish. And it's just a really great drinking beer. And there's a funny story. You can check in on the Untapped app. And I go to this bar over by my house all the time. And they have it up on the screen. When you check in at the Untapped app, it tags them if you tag the location. And the very first time I had this, there it is. There's my face and my name, but not my last name, and it says, had pussy wagon. And it was there for like 3 weeks because no one else checked in. So every time I went over there, there is my face scrolling across the bottom of their screen with had pussy wagon. And my friends and I were just cracking up so hard about that. Now, the restaurant over here by my house, it's a little more kid-friendly, they call it Kitty Wagon. So if anybody wants to pick up some Kitty Wagon, don't do that. Just call it Pussy Wagon. It's funny.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It feels like I'm back in like middle school because everything you say, I'm having to hold the mic away and
so that you don't laugh.
Oh, I'm laughing. I'm just keeping it from being heard. Rob actually slapped his microphone halfway across the room because every point you make about it is funny because of the name.
It is very funny, and I thought it was the perfect beer for UT.
It is.
I mean, their logo looks like a uterus, for Christ's sake.
So it fits more than it should probably now.
It's all just anatomically correct. It just goes together.
Yeah. And saying I'm not a fan of the pictures of the uterus and the longhorn thing. It's kind of gross.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, it's hilarious too.
I get the correlation, but it's like, it's like double.
You know. So. And then, if you abbreviate UT, kind of the uterus, UT, it just goes. I mean, and not that I think that there's anything wrong with women in our anatomy. I just think that most men don't want to be referred to as those things.
Well, no. No.
And, I think the Sooners want to ride in on a schooner, and I think that UT probably rides in on the pussy wagon and gets their ass kicked this week.
The bad type of pussy wagon.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which reminds me of a joke.
Dear.
Can I tell a joke?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. I'm always up for a joke.
Okay. You may have heard this. And I think, Rob, I think you've heard it. I think I've told it to you before. There's a guy buys a house next to... next to some hippies.
Okay.
And the hippies come walking by with these jars, little mason jars. And they said, "Sir, we see you've got some honeysuckle growing out in your back pasture. We're wondering if we could take these jars out there and get honey." And the farmer said, "Boy, you can't get no honey out of a honeysuckle bush, but go have at it." Well, about 30 minutes go by, and those hippies come walking back with armloads of honey in those jars.
I just thought this was a PG-rated show.
And so the guy goes, "Well, hell, beats all I ever seen." Well, the next day they come over, with jugs, and they say, "Sir, we see you have some milkweed out there in your pasture. We were wondering if we could take these jugs out there and get some milk." It's like, "Boys, y'all can't get no milk out of milkweeds, but go have at it." So they're gone about 30 minutes, and they come walking back by his house again with jars full of milk in these, jars. And he said, "Well, hell, that beats all I ever seen." Next day, the hippies come up, knock on his door, and say, "Sir, we see you have some pussy willows out back." And he goes, "Hold on, let me get my coat."
Oh, my God. That is hilarious and awful. But it's funny.
Yeah, see, and it fits the theme of the.
It does. It goes right along with what we're doing.
Does
here,
it though?
Completely inappropriate. That's funny.
I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to put this out and explain what we're, because when you put out a podcast, you put a narrative.
Yeah, I mean, good luck. I really didn't leave you much to work with. It's really bad.
You might just want to let that be a surprise.
If they followed me long enough on Twitter, they should know.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm pretty much the same in person as I am on Twitter. So there's no telling what I'm going to say.
Oh, man. Okay. So do we want to talk about football, or are we just all screwed up now?
No, absolutely. Let's move on to football. And let's not ask if I paired this with tacos, because I didn't.
See, I kept from going there, but you couldn't.
I didn't. I had it with fried tamales at the bar. And it paired perfectly with fried tamales.
With fried tamales.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I wish we had a camera and we're recording this, because the look on Rob's face right now. Oh, it's classic. But okay, so what do you think about all the hoopla, first off, about Oklahoma's defense and offense and everything that's been kind of going on this week?
Okay. Well, first I'll say I was super happy about the Baylor game, even though they scored 33 points, because, you know what, they're going to score some points.
Right.
We were so far enough ahead, it didn't even matter.
Right.
I don't even count those last points. They don't even get to count those last points. It doesn't matter.
They came halfway through the fourth quarter when we were up 58-26, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
55 to 26.
I'm done talking about how we let them score 33.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did, because we were done with our day.
Right.
You know, if you're done with your day, why take the chance of getting hurt? Why take the chance of, who cares?
Right.
Let old Mr. I want to talk to the manager at Academy get a few points under his belt. So, as far as this week and the talk about the defense, I get it. There's a lot of things that really need to, there's some things that need to close up. That third down conversion stat is staggeringly awful.
Right.
Okay, it is. But as far as all the other things that I'm seeing that are good, and all the things that I see that they didn't pace with us on the score.
Right.
There have been games we played last year where they paced us on the score. Right. Every score. It looked like we were playing basketball up and down the court.
Exactly.
Okay? And that's not happening. So if that's not happening, I'm feeling more confident. Yeah, I would have liked to saw a little more out of the run game, and I feel like we should have been able to run all over them, but I also feel like we've just got a few things to work out on that O-line. I think that there's some things there, and it's not to take anything away from the backs, because we have those. And yes, I would love to see Rodney Anderson out there. That's just still hurts, but I don't think that there's less talent available.
Well, but there's still the Blinken stat that he threw out the other night to us, and that I used today on Twitter. On average, Oklahoma is scoring every 9 plays. Okay?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, and you name another
and
offense that's doing.
It doesn't generate the kind of clock eating time that keeps your defense off the field, and it also doesn't generate the kind of clock eating time that allows for you to rack up all these super yards under your running game.
Right.
Every run that we tended to have was not that bad.
Right.
Yeah, a couple of them got stuffed at the line, but not very many.
Well, but
for the most part, you want to average 3 to 6 yards a run.
Right. And when
I don't think that we're too far off from that.
And when every second or third play, you're throwing a screen, a wide receiver screen out there on the edge, or a crossing screen, and Hollywood and CD and even Trey Sermon bust it for 70 yards, what are you going to do?
You can't do a lot about that. You're not going to pad those running stats when you're outrunning them down the field and throwing it.
Right. So, I mean, my point is...
Are you taking the points, or are you trying to get those running stats up? Give me my points, because I like touchdowns.
Right. And my point is that this defense is improved from last year.
It is improved.
I mean... And what you said,
there still things that I'm like, yeah.
But
I watch other teams around the country, and I go,
I'm with you. This time last year, it was like the Indianapolis 500 pace car. It was just everybody would score, they'd score.
And they'd score.
We'd score,
yes.
They'd score.
And if we hadn't been able to score last and get the one defensive stop of the game, which we seem to dredge out of the trenches, then and then we didn't do that at Iowa State. We weren't able to dredge it out of the trenches, and we let them outpace us.
Right.
We're not doing that this year.
Right.
And I feel like that's a big improvement.
Iowa State last year had a 96-yard touchdown drive that ate up the whole second or third quarter. Okay?
Yeah.
And that was the turning point of the game. That
was bad defense.
That was
when
horrible.
you kill the momentum of that back and forth that you were doing. Yeah.
So, okay, now what do you think is going to happen this week from the Kissing Coaches team?
Oh boy, old Tom. Let me tell you, that guy is a weirdo. He was at U of H. I thought he was a weirdo. And I just find his interviews on TV are the most awkward thing. And I just think that, of course, Texas is going to play their heart out, because they've got a little bit of win under their belt, and they feel like this is their opportunity.
Right.
And I feel like our guys are ready to shut that down. Because I think that we have a group of kids that do not want to lose.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that. I think our quarterback is particularly that guy. But I think our defensive guys are those guys too.
And they're getting kind of slanted here by everybody. Some fans.
But I think that Texas will hold their own in the first and second quarter, and then probably the third, and then I think that it's going to end up being, we're going to kind of run away with it. And I think that score is going to end up somewhere less than the Baylor score, but I think they'll end up about the same, right in that 33 to 37 point range. And I think we end up somewhere 49 to 55 range.
I'd take that.
Because I think it'll go back and forth. Yeah. However, I could be wrong about that. Their quarterback, I don't see him to be anything elite.
Well,
he's not as mobile as that Baylor quarterback. And I don't think
he is not. And I don't think he's an elite quarterback to the point that he makes the kind of plays that these other quarterbacks we've played have.
Well, and I think he's the
I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but I don't think he's the same as the ones we've taken on.
that I think if we rattle him hard, to start off with, he'll start making the mistakes that he did last year.
Yeah, exactly. That's his thing. He's not real poised. Maybe that's the right word.
Right.
If you can break his poise, which is easy to do, he gets out of his element. And that happened to them in the Maryland game.
Yeah.
He got his clock cleaned a couple of times, and he was just out of it from that point.
And Murray is a clock cleaning machine. And
yeah, and he is. And if he gets a hold of him, it's going to freak him out.
Yeah. And then of course, if, Caleb gets to play a little bit, he, might break him in two as well.
Oh, boy. That poor kid last week, I felt so bad for that quarterback. That hit every time I saw it replay. I just cringed. The mom and me just, no, that child's going to be dead now. I was just so sad.
And see, that's the difference between men and women. Women go into the mom mode. Dads go into if that was my boy, he'd have known to step up. He'd have felt the pressure and stepped up. He deserves it for not standing there. If that was my boy, he would deserve it because he didn't feel the backside pressure. Right, Rob?
See, I'm all like, oh, my God, somebody go get him.
Or my boy should have hit him harder.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to watch those big hits like that over and over again.
Oh,
Except for all this week with all the ones on Texas, because I don't know. It's a totally different thing. Like mom mode shuts all off.
Yeah. So.
My grandmother started that though. When I was young, my grandma is German, and she always had this super thick German accent. And boy, she loved Barry Switzer.
Oh yeah.
And she, this was our thing. Like other families got together on Sunday for dinner after church. We got together on Saturday and watched football. And it was just a big deal. And I will never forget her saying, "Oh, Barry Switzer better beat these Longhorns. I don't like them at all. I don't like them. Look at that color of that shirt." And it was always her thing. She hated Texas. And, that was the way it was.
Yeah.
Because Barry Switzer hated Texas.
Well, of course. So you're saying 55-ish to 34-ish?
Let's roll out with 55 to 34.
Okay. I think every single fan will take that. I will.
I'd take 2-0. But
I will take another 63 to 14 with no problem.
Oh yeah.
But I'd rather have 63 to 14.
Yeah. So
and then we'll just let them hitch up the pussy wagon and head back to Austin.
Okay. All righty. Well, we've got apparently a wonderful, flavorful beer for everybody.
It is a good beer. It really is.
Yeah. And you pair it. You had it with the fried tamales.
I did have it with fried tamales, which, by the way, are really good. I mean, the bar has good bar food. So if you're there enjoying a nice IPA with a high alcohol volume, soak that up with some fried tamales. You won't be sorry.
Yeah. Oh, and just so you know, the beer shortage in Oklahoma is gone. Thank God.
I know. I saw on the news. I'm so proud of y'all.
Yeah, we can.
Y'all have beer now. You got refrigerated beer. You got wine at the grocery store.
We got wine at 7-Eleven. I won't have to carry an
ice chest when I come back to visit. Because the hardest thing is when you drive 7 or 8 hours to get back home. If I don't call one of my family members and send them to the liquor store and have them put the beer in the refrigerator, I get there and I'd have to go buy beer at the liquor store, and then it'd be hot.
Right.
Now, how am I supposed to sit back there and watch the sunset with a hot beer?
You can't.
So I always just brought it in my ice chest.
Now you can come.
I've been bootlegging beer up there for years.
Yeah. But, all right, well, we got your scores. We got your beer. And I think your prediction is pretty on key. I think that's about what it's going to be. So we look forward to it.
Us too.
I think me and Rob may go try some pussy wagon later on.
There you go.
All right, Adrienne, thank you. Horns down.
Horns down.
Well, now that we've finished up with Adrienne's beer of choice for this week. We're going to move on to cooking the competition, and I'm pretty sure Tim's not going to have as interesting a meal planned as Adrienne had for us a drink. So
no, but hold up. We got to talk about this for a second.
Okay,
have you seen this commercial, Red River Rivalry? Colt McCoy walks up to an elevator and hits the button.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh my God! He hits the button, the elevator opens, and it's Trent Smith. It's Trent Williams, not Trent Smith.
Yeah.
Adrienne Peterson, Samaje P. Ryan, and I couldn't tell who the other one was. And they're all in the elevator, and they're all looking at him. And he goes, "I'll just get the next one." It's hilarious. Oh my God! Sorry about that, Tim.
it's so good. No, hey, it's good.
So, but anyway, we got Tim Harless on here. We're cooking the competition. Horns down, Tim.
Absolutely, horns down, guys.
How are you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's Wednesday, so we're halfway there. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah. So, what you got cooking? You got something special for the Bevos out there?
Well, I tell you what, yes, but it sounds like we just need to drink Adrienne's beer for the weekend and call it good. So it's kind of hard to argue with hers.
Yeah. Oh, she's special in a good way.
That's exactly right. Yeah. There's a place for everyone.
Right, there you go. But
no, this weekend, I tell you what, man, it's since it's such a classic rivalry, I think sometimes we can get too fancy, and so for me, this weekend, it's all about some Bevo burgers, and I like to do a beef, kind of an Angus, and a pork sausage mix for a good burger. And it just gives it a little bit different flavor, a little bit different texture, even in the way that it cooks. So I do just burgers, and I like to make them from home, make homemade and make your own patties and put those things together, season them up just to the way that you'd like them, cook those suckers, and then put whatever cheese you want. I'm kind of a pepper jack guy as far as cheese goes. And then I do a sweet bun, like a King's Hawaiian. Usually it's pretty good with sausage because it's got a little bit of spice to it. And for this Bevo burger, I don't really think there's anything better than to put some Boomer Q, some Billy Sims barbecue sauce on it. That way, even if the competition's dry, you can douse it with some Boomer and at least get it tasting good.
Well, that sounds like a plan. Are you going down to the game, or are you cooking those up at the house and watching it?
Yeah, we'll be at the Casa this weekend, watching it on TV.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I will scream as if I were in person, much to my wife and dog's dismay. But that's what happens when it's on.
Yeah. Well, I think I told you, we always do a here at the house, and Rob generally comes over. We usually have several people over, and my wife, for years, if we don't go, we do the big old pot of chili, the Bevo chili.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, nice.
Just a giant pot of it, and
eat
on it all day. So that's what we're doing from the house, and going to kick back and do that. Now,
hey, and a giant pot of what sounds just like Texas, so that sounds perfect.
But so what are you thinking? First off, what do you think about the Sooners so far this year? You happy?
I tell you what,
happy?
I'm happy. We can spend and people do. They spend way too much time over analyzing defensive stats and offensive stats and plays ran and all that kind of stuff. And for me, keep winning. That's the first thing. The second thing is are the mistakes made in one game the same mistakes made in the second game? And I haven't seen that.
No.
They seem to be correcting things from the past week, and nobody's perfect, and there are no perfect teams. And so readjusting and making strides and growing, and there's still quite a bit of youth on this team, and so with that, it's going to come mental errors and those kind of things. So I'm pleased. I think I'm more pleased just because we really didn't know. I mean, Baker leaves, and yes, we know the athlete that we have, but I don't think any of us expected him to be this good. And
right.
so this thing could have gone a lot worse when you lose one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in college football history. Usually there's quite a letdown, and it just hasn't felt that way.
No, it hasn't. And to me, the offense seems a little bit better this year because I think he adds a dimension to it that's a little bit more dynamic than what Baker. Baker added the attitude and brassness to it. Plus, he was athletic enough, but it was the passion that he played with. Kyler just brings a whole nother level of athleticism. And I agree with what a lot of people have said. The biggest surprise on Kyler to me was I didn't think, and he hasn't so far, we're going to see again this week, but when he gets in trouble, I was worried that he would get through one or two reads and feel a little bit of pressure and take off. That's what I was worried about. That dude is going through 3 and 4 and 5 progressions on sometimes. He stayed back there in the pocket plenty of times when you're thinking, well, he could have ran, but no, he went through his progressions before he tucked it and ran. And then last week when he had the ball knocked out of his hand, picked it up and threw it.
Yeah.
When
still the guy never touched him.
Yeah. And a lot of quarterbacks would have just picked it up and ran it. He had sense enough to pick it up and look downfield to see what was going on and had an open receiver. So
yeah, I think a lot of guys, especially dual threat guys, and I think we all forget how good he was coming out of high school because he didn't come here, and we didn't really follow his recruiting very closely. But he was the number one dual threat guy coming out of high school, and so to be dual threat, you got to be able to do both very well. And the baseball aspect of him, I think that helps him stay calm under pressure. And he's a guy that I don't think relies on his speed, but he uses his speed.
Right.
And so he's able to do probably twice as many checkdowns as Baker could. Not so much quicker, but because he can take that much more time, because there's always that fact that he runs a 4.34, 4.40, and he can run if he needs to, or just move the pocket just enough. It's fun to watch guys just continue to fan and whiff on this guy. And it's not even like they're not getting good hits. Like, they're just not touching him.
Right.
And it looks so effortless. I mean, he hate to love him, but Vince Young had that capability of just being escapable, just smooth and glide. And Kyler kind of has that same it's spectacular to watch.
Yeah, and I love how, I've said it reminds me of a snake going through the grass. When he gets into the defensive backfield, he doesn't make hard cuts, jukes, or anything else. It's just this smooth little glide through there. And if the defensive backs or anybody converges on him, he just slides. If he needs to.
Absolutely.
If he needs to get the yards.
At perfect timing, too.
Yeah, perfect time. He knows, okay, this is all I'm going to get out of it. Slide. Done with it. He doesn't do any added jukes when that happens. He doesn't do – that's what I like. None of his motions when he's running is wasted. You know what I mean? There's not any of this, double step jukes or anything like that. He just kind of glides through it and then just whoop, slides. This is all I'm going to get up, and I'm going to go do it again. That's what I like about him.
I think his calm demeanor is such a frustration for a defense, because even if they did get a hit, you just can't. He's that guy you can't tell. You can't read his emotion, and those quiet guys are scary.
Yeah.
They're just those are the ones you always had to worry about growing up. You don't ever mess with the quiet one. Well, Kyler's the quiet one.
Right.
So, we don't see what goes in the locker room and the huddles, but as far as how he plays, and it's as if you can't get to him, and that's even more frustrating on a mental level.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, what do you think is going to happen this weekend?
I hate picking this game because it doesn't matter if we're, haven't lost 42 or haven't won 40, we've won 42 games in a row, or they're awful and we're good, or we're awful and they're good. It's almost like it doesn't matter. And I say that everybody I'm hearing, it's either they think, oh, he's going to blow them out, or they think it's going to be a tight game. And so, usually if there's rumors of a tight game, it doesn't end that way. I don't feel like this game ever ends the way that people think it's supposed to. So, for me, I know Texas defensive backs are pretty good, and actually they're probably kind of a school that produces a lot of defensive backs, especially going into the NFL. but I think their front 7, maybe 6, or whatever they play with. I don't think that they may be one of the weaker units that OU's faced so far.
Yeah,
and so. I think that they're going to have to rely too heavy on those defensive backs, and I don't think that bodes well for Texas.
Yeah, I know that they said that Tulsa pushed their front 7 around pretty easily through that game. So
yes,
that's a plus.
Yeah, and Tulsa destroyed Arkansas, and so you kind of have this transitive property of if Tulsa can do this to them, and that kind of deal. So, man, as far as picking it, OU's winning this game. I won't be shocked if they win by 10-12, and I won't be shocked if they win by 30. It kind of depends on if OU can stop Texas and hold them to short yardage on first and second down. I think this thing gets ugly quick.
Yeah,
because they're giving OU the ball back, and it's interesting that they're not running this like breakneck speed play after play after play, but they are scoring so quickly when they do have the ball. If I'm Lincoln, I'm taking the ball and I'm going to score and putting the pressure immediately on Texas and say, come get us, try to catch us if you can type situation. Well, so I guess I need to pick a score, don't I?
Well, we let Adrienne pick a range. She was like 55-ish to 34-ish.
So that could be like 59 to 30. So
yeah.
I think, man, it's not a law of averages by any means. But I think OU scores in the probably mid to upper 40s. I think Texas probably gets theirs. They're going to throw everything they can at OU, especially defense. They're going to blitz like crazy, which I think I think that's what's going to hurt them.
Yeah, that's what's going to end up killing them.
Yeah, because they're going to have to. They can't just let Kyler sit back there and pick them apart. And it's going to be like old school 7-on-7 in the backyard. If you rush the fastest kid, you're not going to catch the fastest kid. So,
please rush
good luck.
him.
Yeah, I think Todd Orlando's got a great idea, but I just don't think it's going to pan out in actuality. So I'd say probably upper 40s to 17, maybe 21, somewhere around that range.
Yeah, I could see that.
Listen, I want to win, and so I'll take by 3, just because this is the weirdest.
It's the weirdest game in the world.
This game. Yeah, they don't get it. Yeah. They have no idea.
It's like Rob said earlier, he'd take 2-0. I mean,
I'm gonna be honest, Rob. I'm freaking out if it's 2-0.
I get that
Something's
too.
gone wrong.
We were talking about it earlier in our little talk beforehand. Is like, I would love to see a 63-14 or a 68-10. That would be fun, but. I do love the OU Texas game like it was last year.
Yeah.
It just nail biting the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that type of rivalry and it's that much fun. But the fan in me too loves it that when Texas starts exiting the stands in the third quarter and you see nothing but this horseshoe
and the
of
fair.
red. And the fair, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's so weird. It's kind of got that mutual respect as like OU Nebraska did. But the problem is it's got this unbelievable hatred, and I don't call it a problem, it's a love. It's unbelievable hatred of, and we just cannot stand these people. And as much as quote unquote Texas is back, the guys hear that, Lincoln hears that, the coaches hear that, players hear that, and so this has a potential to be a crazy statement win that. Man, keep that foot on the pedal. And if it's 77-0 and we're doing an A&M and just kind of going back to like what Mike said or Lincoln said this past week, if you're going to keep passing, we're going to keep blitzing. So if you're going to act like you're still got some life in you, we're going to hit you until you stop moving.
Right.
We're going to send Caleb Kelly to your quarterback and cut him in half. And
oh my gosh, yes.
But,
so
I will say I've got the under over on 8 concussions for Texas.
All right.
So I don't know if that's a prop bet or maybe there's a hydration bet we can take.
Or kissing bet.
Yeah, kissing or pea color bet, something like that.
Yeah. But what were you going to ask him, Rob?
No, I was just gonna. I can't even remember.
Can't remember that. Sorry about that, then, Rob.
He's been drinking some of Adrienne's beer.
But no, I think the key to this is rocking Ellinger quick. And
yes.
I think what this defense is doing better than what they did last year is pressuring the quarterback and pressuring from what we've gotten before has been that super edge rusher like Stryker and Ovo. Now we got Murray and just went blank the other linebacker. Jeez, Bolton.
Oh, Buzzy, yeah.
Yeah, now we got those guys just coming through and eating people's lunches.
Well, and Ellinger is not that fast.
Yeah.
He's not really a scrambling quarterback, even though he does do some. He's not that fast. So if we get to him and we hit him hard, like we hit, what's his name last week?
A bunch, because they hit him hard a bunch. Not just that, and the thing that
nothing like hitting a quarterback, is there?
What did we end up having? 6 sacks against Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's a spread out, quick throw offense, and we were getting back there before he could get through his second read.
Yeah.
And that's the key to stopping these teams.
Yeah, Ellinger or hard G, soft G, whatever. He's a running quarterback. He's not a throwing quarterback, but he's not a great runner. So he's not a speedy, shifty guy. And so, I think we see a lot of Trey Brown, and gosh, I hope so. And so I think he and Buki have an impact. If we pick a pass off or we lock into the receivers and he has to run, that makes them one-dimensional.
Right.
I don't think they've got the running backs that they've had before. I don't think the guy that was playing last week is their guy. And so if Ellinger runs the ball and he runs it more than 10 or 15 times, and I think that plays well. The first half, I think that plays well into OU's hands because they're absolutely one-dimensional, and then you can just tee off on the fact that corners and safeties, our defensive backfield has got them locked down, and we can just go get him.
Right.
You know what I think the difference between this year and last year is we didn't get any push from our front four last year.
None.
And this year we're getting some push, and that's opening some rushing lanes, I think.
Yeah, it is. And well, I think the bigger over-under will be how many times they show Ellinger's mom. Because remember last year, it was like between every play, they showed her up in the stands. Yeah, because I guess she's a single mom now, or something like that, and it was just like, why do they keep showing
his dad passed away.
Yeah, they kept showing his mom in the stands. I was like, I don't want to see this kid's mom.
Well, I love at least. Go ahead.
I was going to say at least Brent Musburger's not calling it because it could get really awkward for everybody.
Yeah, I can't stand Brent Musburger. But I love them showing the stands when we're just killing them. All the defeat cobra or what, surrender cobra or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
In the stand, I love to see those pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad's from Texas, and so he's from Grapevine originally, and his statement to this day, he's in Okie now, but the best thing coming out of Texas is I-35.
Yeah.
So, I still believe that. I was in Texas last weekend, and there was nothing like coming back across the border and just being home.
Yeah. Hey, well, all right, Tim, we're going to get to Dan, and we appreciate your time. And, everybody, I'm sure there's a lot of Bevo burgers going to be made this year, but I'm going to have to talk to the wife about putting some sausage in. That sounds...
get the pork sausage. Don't get the Italian sausage. That can mess you up, but the pork sausage is good.
I'm gonna have to try that and see what happens. All right, man. Well,
Absolutely.
You guys enjoy the weekend and enjoy the game. All right.
Absolutely.
Horns down, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Horns down.
Hey, horns down.
Well, Tim, he had some pretty good ideas for the burgers. Like I said, I never had a burger with.
It sounds weird, but I'm always willing to try.
Burger with sausage. I'm gonna have to try that. But anyway, now it's time for tailgate games with our buddy, the tailgate ninja, Dan Donnelly from Tailgate Connect. Horns down, Dan.
Horns down, and you know what, guys? You know what time it is out here?
What time? Bocce ball time.
It's about 6:45, and Texas still sucks.
I love it.
Of course they do.
The hate is strong with this one.
Oh, yeah, the hate is strong, even from California.
But you know what? Everybody loves to hate Texas.
I know. I don't know of anybody that I don't know of any other team that likes Texas.
Well, I have a cousin that lives in Graham. I told you.
Yeah.
He hates Texas. But when they win, he still texts me like, "Hey,
No.
what happened or whatever," and I'm like, "You don't even like them. Shut up."
So don't even talk.
He doesn't like Oklahoma either, but
yeah. So
I think it's one of those schools. If you didn't go there, you don't have bloodlines there. You probably hate them.
Yeah.
Like you guys do the hating on Notre Dame, and I do the hating on USC out here as well. It's just one of those schools.
Well,
Easy to hate.
the crazy thing is that you would have thought this would be a marquee game if both teams were undefeated. Well, Texas has got the terrible loss to Maryland, and they're ranked 19th.
Mm-hmm.
But this game this week is the game of the week. I mean,
yep.
How many times do you see? I don't know that I've ever seen it. Fox's crew, their morning crew, or their game day crew, Leinert and all, and all those guys are going to be at the fair, and game day is going to be at the fair. I guess they're going to be on separate sides of that courtyard outside the stadium.
Game day says they're going to be next to the Ferris wheel. So
okay,
that's pretty much the Oklahoma side of the
right.
I'm turned around.
Right. Yeah, it's something like, I know, but I mean, how many times I've never seen those two crews at the same place, and it's a Fox game, so in essence, ESPN is promoting a Fox game.
Their game.
But it's the game of the week. It's the game everybody's talking about this week.
Agreed. I think it's just going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. I mean, you guys have been to the. Are you going down this week or not?
No.
You said you were not going. That's right. You told me that last week. No, I agree. I think it's going to be incredibly festive. Apologize for the noise in the background. As I mentioned when we were offline, I'm at my weeknight tailgate here in Danville, California. It's called Bocce. They break out beer, pizza, goodies, and then you roll a ball on a sand pit for a couple hours. So
sounds like fun.
Than Saturdays for me. But yeah, I think it's going to be extremely festive. I was just at the college game day this past Saturday in State College, Pennsylvania. And just something about what that brings to the overall environment. There's an added bit of excitement. If Red River wasn't exciting already, it's even more exciting for the people attending.
Yeah. And have you ever been to the game, the OU Texas game?
I went last year.
Oh, did you?
So actually, I'll put it in perspective. I went back in 1987, but for certain reasons, I never made it into the stadium. But last year, I actually
you strolled into the stadium last year.
Last year, I did make it in. I went with my daughter, some of her friends, as she was a senior last year, and then some family people as well. But we had a great weekend. That was just a fun game last year.
Yeah.
Exciting down to the end. So it was awesome.
Yeah. So what we've been asking everybody. Well, first off, let's. You were in State College. What do you want to talk? Are you going to talk about your experience there? Do you got another tailgate event you can tell us about to try at the tailgates? It's your choice.
Sure. I can be quick on a recap of Penn State, and then I'll talk about one of the games that I own that's in my my tailgate shed on the side of the house there. But State College was a lot of fun. I'm not sure, Terry, Rob, if either of you have ever had the chance to be there, but it's pretty. What's the word I want to look for? I mean, they're passionate.
Yeah.
It was a whiteout. It was game of the week. All that stuff. Game day was there. And, 100, I think they set the record of 110,889 people. But let me tell you this, that stadium was built for about 80,000. Guys our size, I think I was in 3 seats at one point. Okay. Left cheek was on, 16 and right cheek was on 18. So it was, I got to know people really well that night. But, it was really, it was a lot of fun. They're very passionate. I don't like Ohio State, so I became a one-day fan for Penn State. Rooted really hard, and The tailgate scene was phenomenal. We made it over to the tailgate by about 12:30 and didn't walk in the stadium until about 7. So we were doing just fine at that point. And there was I'm not sure if you've seen this, but there's these news stories going around. There was a helicopter that was flown in to break up a rowdy tailgate. And you can type it in and see what happened. But a helicopter hovered about 20 to 30 feet off the ground and just started blowing tents and coolers all over the place.
Holy crap.
People are scattering. Well, apparently the reason they brought the helicopter in is they had brought mounted police in, and somebody went Mongo from Blazing Saddles on one of the horses and punched the horse in the jaw. And so they sent the helicopter in. Well, of course, when everybody found out I was there with 14 of my rowdy friends from out here, they assumed that I was in the middle of the whole thing and asked how my knuckles were doing. And I was like, I wasn't even near that.
So they hovered a helicopter over a tailgate group and just blew it all to hell. I guess that's one way to do it.
I guess so. I guess so. I mean, I wouldn't want to be on that rotor wash there. But anyways, it was really a lot of fun. The town was festive on Friday night, all that good stuff. But any passionate fans that like to go do a road game, outside of Norman, I would highly recommend that place. It's definitely a top, probably the top 5 experience out of what I've seen.
Wow, that's cool.
So,
yeah.
But go ahead.
Our tailgate last week wasn't quite that, wasn't as festive enough to get a helicopter to blow us down, but we had a good time.
I wasn't there.
Yeah. We had a good time. I mean, it's funny. Our tailgate is right next to the Roughnecks tailgate. The Roughnecks Alumni Association, and they do a tailgate. For the Lil Sis and Roughnecks do a tailgate. And let me tell you, some of them older Roughnecks, they're a lot of fun, buddy.
I wish I could come over doing that.
I bet.
And everybody started breaking down probably about 2 hours after the game. We because the streets are blocked off where we're at for 2 hours after the game. Okay.
Right.
So everybody just stays up for 2 hours, and some people were still there when we were breaking down. And I'm about halfway broke down, and the Roughnecks were broken down, and I think he goes by Buck. He helped set it up. I can't think of his name, but he goes by Buck. And he's an old a roughneck from same thing, I think. Old roughneck. From the 80s. And we wear the same type of shirt. We wear a Columbia OU fishing shirt. They're comfortable. Yep. They're great shirts. And we always joke with each other about, we're dressed the same. He kind of has a red beard. We're about the same age, reddish, grayish beard. And he comes walking over, and they're just lowering all of their canopies down. Their grill's still there, chairs, everything over it. He comes over and gives me a big old hug and says, "Man, we're shutting down. I'm picking this crap up in the morning." And that's putting it cleanly. Okay.
So he had a good day.
Yeah, he had a good day, and they were just done. I mean, you could just tell they kind of hit a wall. They got about half of it taken down, and people were taking their stuff off, and all of a sudden they just lower all the canopies at half mast. The grills they got a giant, half of it's a grill and half of it's a griddle. Okay, so they've got one of those ice chests. They got a bunch of chairs and TV back there, and
they just left it.
Yeah, they just closed it. And you can leave your stuff up at Oklahoma. It has to be gone by noon on Sundays.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No one's going to come.
Nobody's going to. Most people break down and haul off on after the game, but you can leave it there until Sunday.
That's great.
But it was just he comes over, puts his arms out, and gives me a big old hug. I am Reverend done.
When you're done. I get it.
No, yeah, but I mean he's great. I mean he comes over and sits down and talks with us, and that's the thing that's cool about the tailgates is you get to know all the people around you. You're all tailgating separately, but people come over and stand in ours. We go over and stand in theirs. And with us, with the podcast, we just have fans and people that follow us on Twitter. I always offer them a beer and a burger or whatever we're cooking. And they're always, no, we just want to come by and visit with you guys and meet you. And there was like, okay, we just have people come by, and then we have people come up because we have a banner that go, y'all have a podcast? Watch it. And we have little cards that we hand out. But, you know, my wife is like, why doesn't anybody ever eat? And I'm like, I offer them. She cooked
socialize them.
Yeah, she cooked a 14-pound brisket last week. Okay, in the oven.
God.
So we had this big old pan of, you know, 2 big old pans of brisket. Now, you know, some people come and eat, but most people just want to come up and say hi. You know, they listen to our podcast, and I always, you know, it's like, you want a beer? You know, oh no, you want a water, Coke, sandwich, but. You know, but it's just fun being around.
It is fun.
All those people, and everybody shares everything. You know, I mean, you know, some of their people.
It's very neighborly, right?
Yeah, people come over and, you know, hey, I'm gonna grab some of your brisket. Go for it, and you go over there. There's a guy over in one of them that makes a homemade salsa that is maybe the best salsa I've had in my life, and.
Oh my!
I go over there and pour a bowl of it, and I'm getting a little bit of salsa. Clug.
Terry, I just ate dinner at the tailgate, and you got me all hungry again, talking about brisket, salsa, and now I got to go drink a beer too because you mentioned beer. So, oh God!
But now you're going. I feel like I want to sound like Tom Herman, because one thing I have figured out is tailgating's hard. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is. There's work, right?
It's work. I mean, you got to get up. You got to get up early. Well, you got to pack everything the night before. You know, have it all ready to go. You get there. You get it unpacked. You get it set up. You finally get to sit down. Have a couple of. You know, I usually have a couple bottles of water and start drinking beer. Then I start eating. The game goes on. When you come out of the game, you realize, okay, I've got 2 hours, and I got to tear all this stuff down.
Yeah.
And haul it back to the house, and then. You know, I always unpack it on Sunday mornings, sometimes Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a lot of work. It's fun, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah. It really is. It really is. And you know the people that have the system down too. That, you know, they execute like clockwork on the setup, the takedown, the pre-planning. You know, there's a lot. You can't just show up, and that's, you know. But you know, I'm not going to go into my sales pitch, but that's the whole thing about Tailgate Connected. You know, we pitch. It's like, guys, you don't have to worry about that. You just show up, and the host has already taken care of all that for you. Right. All right, that's cool. Yeah. But I've got to host one on Saturday out here. I'm about like an hour from Stanford, and so we're hosting a small one out there. There might be some Utah fans that are coming in that will tailgate with us as well. But even that, you know, I'm thinking, you know, it's 15 to 17 people. Yeah, a lot of planning all week that's been going on.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to make sure I do it right. So. We'll take care of them. I'm not doing a 14-pound brisket, but
well, she put it on. She found an oven recipe, and she wanted it, and it was good. And she put it in about 4 o'clock. No, about 3 o'clock Friday afternoon. She put it on.
Oh man!
And it cooked all night long. And we actually got up an hour late. Alarm went off, and you know, I hit the snooze button. Alarm went off again. I turn it off going to make the coffee, and it's, you know, 7:05 instead of 6:05, and I was like, oh crap, we were an hour behind. So ran in and woke her up, but
came out okay.
Yeah, everything came out okay. We just didn't weren't able to let the brisket rest. So instead of sliced brisket, we had chopped brisket.
hey,
so that's worked
perfect.
out.
That's perfect.
So
that's good.
So
start a new trend.
What do you think about this weekend? What do you think is going to happen?
So, you know, go back to the beginning of the season. Texas looked awful against Maryland. You know, do we throw that one out? Was that not the real Texas? You know, obviously they beat USC, which is, you know, an okay team. They're not the USC of Norm, but they're an okay team. And then they beat TCU, and they played this past Saturday. Was it Kansas?
No. Kansas State.
Yeah, Kansas State. Sorry, right. K-State. Again, I was so out of pocket all day Saturday. All I got to do was watch college football rewind, and I watched the OU game last night on replay. But you know, I think they're a better team than what they showed against you know, Maryland at the beginning of the year. I thought they were a team in disarray. So, in true rivalry fashion, I think it's going to be a much closer game. I don't think that their defense can stop OU's offense. I think there's just, you know, I mean, Murray's got it going right now. I mean, that guy's really, really impressive. you think about it, this is his first year starting, right?
Right.
And to step in, he's not Baker, but he's about the next best thing to him that I've seen this year between he and Tua Tagovailoa down in Alabama.
Wait a second. Say that again.
Between him and Tua Tagovailoa.
We have a little trouble pronouncing his name.
We have trouble. We can't. We can't pronounce his name.
Let's just call him T squared. Right?
Yeah, we call him Tua Ubala Ugala or something like that. That's the best we can do.
That's more syllables than I normally can chirp out. But it's just, the guy's amazing. And then I look before I even saw the game. I look at the box score and I go, "Who's this running back that had 100 yards for us?" I guess that's was it Brooks?
Yeah,
the freshman.
Yeah.
Jeez. So another weapon that's yet to be seen. I saw some highlights of the backup tight end that looked good as well.
Yeah.
I don't. And the O line just looks great. They look like they've played together a long time. There's been two big changes since actually 3 if you count Andrews.
Right.
They just look solid. So they're giving them the right protection. They're opening up holes on the run. I don't see Texas defense being able to stop them. But on the same breath, I think Texas offense has got it going right now. At least against USC and TCU, they did. And it'll be a challenge. So final score is what you want from me, right?
Sure. Well, actually, everybody's been giving, because it's a rivalry game, we're giving everybody the ish. Okay. If like 55-ish to 30-ish, 40-ish to 30. Right. You don't have to be exact. We're just, hey, because it's a rivalry, everybody's kind of got that. Either Oklahoma's going to blow them out or it's going to be a close game. We don't know, and it's like, okay, give us a round number of around what you think it's going to be. Round
is mid 40s to low 30s. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Mid 40s to low 30s.
That's about what everybody I think is thinking.
Got it.
Everybody except me.
Yeah. I think it's either going to be that or it's going to be a blowout. It would not shock me if that offense gets rolling and they rattle Ellinger, whatever his name is. Don't know if it's a silent G, a hard G, soft G. But if they rattle him early, it could be a long, long day for Texas. That's what I'm hoping for.
Good.
But the reality of it is it's probably going to be 35-ish to 24-ish, I think. 20, somewhere in that.
Because it's a rivalry game.
Because it's a rivalry game.
Yeah. You get a blowout every so often. You're right. But
back in the 90s when we were terrible, we had 0 wins and went in there and beat them when they were ranked number 2. So
that's right. That's right.
Anything can happen.
Yep. But it can. So we'll pray for a blowout, but we'll be prepared if it's a little bit closer. And definitely, I'll have a Bloody Mary going out here because it's 0900 California time, I think, right?
Ugh, yeah.
11 a.m. Central, right?
Yeah, 11 o'clock Central time. So are you a UFC fan?
I enjoy watching, fisticuffs, blood, and all that, but I'm not gonna pay for the McGregor fight if that's where you're going.
Oh yeah. Oh, see, we're gonna be at it all day because we got the McGregor fight that night. So, but I'm getting old. I let everybody know that some point in time between the end of the football game and before 6 or 7, I'm gonna go take a nap. Okay, because a belly full of chili and beer, I'm going to be like, ugh. I'm going to have to get a power nap in to make it through. So
that's all you need. That's all you need. A little power. Don't sleep for those 2 hours you like to do. Just take that little power nap.
Just a little power nap just to get things rolling again, and then kick back. I'm more worried about Caleb and his friends getting into super hype mode at noon.
Yeah,
they don't not hard to handle. It's just it reminds me of when I was 25. It's like, ugh, was I ever this obnoxious? Of course I was. This is my kid. So, but
spawn of the devil himself. Right?
Yeah. Well, all right, man. Well, hey, enjoy the Stanford tailgating game.
Appreciate it, guys.
And we appreciate you being on again. And we won't do it next week because open week, but we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Fantastic. Right. And Terry and Rob, time check real quick.
Texas still sucks.
Yeah.
Very good.
There it is. All right. Horns down, Dan.
All right, guys. All right. Horns down, guys. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. Hit the subscribe button right now on whatever app you're listening to download every episode as they come out. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook and on YouTube. Boomer Sooner.